In LMES, there are 4 categories of cars. Before starting this 2005 season, let's clarify certain points that will facilitate our understanding of the race. On the one hand, there are the prototypes, the cars imagined in the heads of engineers and starting from a blank drawing board. In LMES, we find 2 types of protos, LMP1 and LMP2. Yves Courage builds cars for both categories, so he's best placed to explain how to distinguish them. The main difference between an LMP1 and LMP2, the LMP2 has a weight of 750 kilograms, LMP1 900. In terms of power, the difference is around 100 to 150 horsepower, 500 to 520 for LMP2, 600 to 620 for LMP1, and the LMP2 can't use an engine with more than 8 cylinders, while LMP1 can use V10 engines and with bigger capacities. With regard to the chassis, there are thus no great differences between LMP1 and LMP2. The other half of the field is made up of GTs, the mass production cars adapted to racing.
The engine has got the block and the main parts of the road car engine, so they actually remain the same, but it's tuned as a real race car engine.
In GT1, carbon brakes and traction control are authorized. In their spirit of design, these cars approach the protos, which are not at all the case of the GT2s, which are very close to production models.
We're production based. We have to maintain a lot of the original components, like the suspension. Even the geometry has to be closer. There's smaller effects on aerodynamics, just tighter regulations to what we can change to gain the performance. Even we're running on steel discs, not carbon brake pads or carbon brake discs.
To identify the cars more easily, the numbers of the LMP1 and GT1 are red, while in LMP2 and GT2 they're black. To distinguish them even better, we identified them by different on-screen key colors: red for LMP1, purple for LMP2, blue for GT1, and finally green for GT2. A veritable deluge came down on Spa-Francorchamps on the Saturday afternoon. The protos look more like bathtubs than racing cars, but it doesn't matter. When you've got to go, you've got to go. It's a well-known fact that rain reduces the performance gaps between the cars. And in fact, a wet track could mean a lucky break for the French Audi team. On a wet track, less fuel's used, and consequently the handicap imposed by the new rules could be less of a concern for the R8. At Eureka, however, there's a great deal of anxiety after qualifying. The R8's lacking in high-end torque. The drivers even complain because they have a hard time overtaking GT cars, which goes to show to what extent the new regulations have hit the Audi. Virtually invincible in 2004. The stopwatch is, however, less alarming since Gounod and Ortelli are 4th on the starting grid, a little more than 2 seconds off the pole. The third best qualifier of this meeting is the Zytek 04S of the Danes Nielsen and Elgaard, associated with the Japanese driver Shimoda. Already powerful and reliable during the tests at Le Castellet, the car of the Jota team confirms as of practice that it will definitely be one to watch. The pole positions played between the Creation team and the Team Pescarolo Sport. In the end, the 2 cars are separated by 19 thousandths of a second, a gap worthy of Formula One. Nicholas Manassian and Jamie Campbell-Water are finally satisfied with the second place on the grid on board their Judd-powered DBA. The car's powerful, that's for sure, but it remains to be seen now if reliability will be there. During the tests at Le Castellet, an engine breakdown due to a crankshaft problem came to disturb the serenity of Team Creation Autosportif. First pole position of the year thus goes to Jean-Christophe Bourillon. The Frenchman turned in 2 minutes 21.076 seconds. But at Pesca, a lot of work has to be done in view of the race.
Well, we had absolutely no strategy. We have worked on the race setup yesterday. The car was pretty good on the dry, so we are pretty confident for the wet because it's nearly the same setup we just put more downforce on the car. So we were just looking for the pole anyway, because it's always better to start ahead of everybody when it's raining because of the spray and everything. So that's it.
While the Courage marks its time by signing the pole in category LMP2, the cars of the Monceau-based manufacturer are also in some of the leading posts. The C65 Courages still have good performance levels, though. In the fourth place of the category, it's the car of Hildebrand, Leroc and De Mans, propelled by a Judd engine. Just in front, there are the two Ford Power C65 Courages of Belmondo Racing. The owner, Paul Belmondo, teamed with Iannetta and André, a third in LMP2 in this qualifying session, beaten by the sister car driven by Gosselin, Oye and the local driver Vincent Voss. One thing certain, we'll have to keep an eye on the Courages of the Belmondo team. In fact, only one car was faster than the leading Courages in LMP2. It's the MG of Newton and Erdos. The very same day of the announcement of the bankruptcy of the British band, the RML team made it a point of honor to take the pole position in these 1,000 kilometers of Spa. The excellent time put in by the MG Lola even places it on the 9th place on the starting grid.
Really a good couple of weeks of hard work from the team, getting this brand new MG Lola together. It's a new project, and but you know, the car is working really well, and you know, with the Michelin tires, just giving us the grip that we need, and very difficult conditions today, but absolutely no problems, performing well. I had one small problem with my visor. I couldn't actually see very well. It was misting up inside, so it's a little bit difficult, but you know, it's very happy to be on pole for the class for the first race.
Best time in GT1 goes to the title holder, who's now with a new team, the Converse team. 2 minutes 35.470 seconds. That was the time put in by Christophe Bouchou. The French driver showed he was extremely fast in spite of the terrible weather conditions.
The meteo condition was really worst, and especially in Spa, when we have to drive on the rain condition, it's very bad, so I'm very happy. Tomorrow, of course, it's a different thing because it's a long distance race, 1,000 kilometers, 6 hours. We have to be reliable, and if it's raining like today, it will be not an easy game.
With more than 2.5 seconds lead over the identical car of Enger and Pergel, Bouchou sets the pace and aims for a new title in GT1. The fight in GT1 between the Ferraris is likely, however, to be arbitrated by the two Saleen S7Rs. The fastest, that of Bobby Roberti and Lemeray, is classified third in the GT1 class in this qualifying. Their arrival in LMES, the Ferrari 550 Maranellos of the Scuderia BMS, the constructors' title holder in FIA GT, are a little further back. At the end of the session, Fabrizio Gollin went straight off at the combs. With his rear bumper torn off, his qualifying stopped there with fourth best time. But it's in GT2 that we're likely to have the greatest battles in the 1,000 kilometers of Spa. At the end of practice, the 5 first cars in the category are all within 1 second of one another. Virtually nothing when attacking an endurance race of 6 hours. The 2 fastest cars are both Porsche 996s. Sugden and Cocker are fastest in front of Barazzi and Vergers. Hot on the heels of the Germans, the Ferrari Modena of the Scuderia Ecos, driven by Kirkcaldy and Kinch. The excellent news is the good performance of the TVR Tuscan. The English are not out there just as bystanders. And in the race, it's worth betting that Hughes, Kane and Tomlinson will aim for the podium in GT2. In this category, the race tactics are more important, and the highly experienced Tim Sugden has already thought it out.
The idea is we start Jonathan. Jonathan will do a single stint, maybe even a double stint, and then we'll just see where we are. But I think this race is going to be all about being there at the end, and we've certainly got a good enough car. The team are working very well. We're a little bit short on running, so we're not going to try and wring its neck for every lap of 6 hours, and you know, hopefully be there in the end.
It's Sunday, and one can't really say that the weather's more lenient. It's still raining over the region, and the sky is literally sitting on the track. That's no problem, even if 2 support races were cancelled. The 1,000 kilometers of Spa will indeed take place as scheduled. On the starting grid, it's umbrellas and wet weather gear. 47 cars are thus aligned on the starting grid of this first race of the year. At midday, the pace car leads the cars for an extremely important warm-up lap. Given the weather conditions, the track changes from minute to minute. And for the drivers, this warm-up is like a reconnaissance mission. For the Courage Judd of Corsa Motorsport, 16th in practice, the race starts badly. They're stalled on the grid. The marshals are obliged to push the car down the hill to jump-start the engine. So as they prepare to line up for this first starting grid of the year, it's the Pescarolo Judd in pole position with 19 thousandths of a second gap to the DBA number 7 of Manassian and Campbell Water. Third time for the Zytek of Shimoda, Nielsen and Elgaard. In fourth place, it's the French Audi. In LMP2, here are the standings from practice with the MG Lola, which was fastest in 2:28.349. Just behind was the Ford Turbo Courage of Belmondo Racing, driven by the Belgian Vincent Voss. The other Courage of Belmondo Racing is third. In the GT1 class, the Ferraris are still the fastest. The 61 of Bushu and the Russian Fomenko and Vasiliev precedes another 550 Maranello, driven by the Czechs Enger and Pergel. The third car qualified in GT1 is the Celine, number 66, driven by the trio of Bobby, Roberti and Lemery. Then come the two Ferraris of the Scuderia Italia BMS, and the only Viper in the race engaged by Belmondo Racing. Finally, the sixth fastest in the GT2 category, the Porsche of Sugden and Cocker, have the best time in front of the car of Barazzi and Vergers. Then come the Ferrari Modena from the Scuderia Ecosse. In fourth position, the TVR from the Team LNT. The pace car arrives at La Source hairpin, then disappears from the front of the pack. It's Jean-Christophe Bouillon who leads along in the descent towards Eau Rouge, and they're off for 1,000 kilometers or 144 laps of the circuit of Francorchamps, or 6 hours of racing. Right from the first meters of the race, Stefan Ortelli attacks in the combs, and the Audi is already in third place. A little further back, the Monegasque seizes the second position from Jan Magnussen in a Lister. In the lead, Bouillon sets a torrid pace. The Pescarolo, starting from pole, has the intention of leading the dance and imposing the pace. Further back in the pack, it's the man of the vintage, Vincent Voss, on the heels of Tommy Erdos. The MG Lola and the Belmondo Courage begin a great battle. Initially, it's the Belgian who takes the upper hand, but Voss, who knows Francorchamps like the palm of his hand, will eventually buckle under against the Brazilian in the MG. The Belmondo Courage heads for open water, in real terms. After only 37 minutes of racing, Vincent is in the pits. The water is causing electrical problems.
Battery problem, and well, we decided to start the race with a hard wet tires, and I think it was a safe decision. And now after 15 laps we were still leading the category and we had a battery problem.
There's also a beautiful battle between Bushu and Enger for the first position in GT1 in this early part of the race. Two Ferrari 550 Maranellos being driven exceptionally well and neck. Bushu started with a small advantage from the grid, but after a few laps, he's passed by Thomas Enger. In GT2, the Porsche of Sugden doesn't stay in the lead of the category for very long. Very quickly, the Ferrari of the Écurie Ecosse takes the initiative. Andrew Kirkcaldy is at the wheel of the Medina at this early point in the race. The best cars of GT2 run nearly 20 seconds slower than the LMP1s, and consequently the leaders are in the traffic as of the 10th lap. With this fog, passing the tail enders is a perilous exercise, and Stefan Ortelli will realize this in the braking at the chicane. On the inside, he can't avoid the contact with the Porsche of Sylvain Noël. Highly fortunately, this spectacular tangle is without gravity for either of the two drivers or their cars. Racing the Pescarolo with Bouillon at the wheel still leads in front of the Audi of Ortelli and the DBA of Manassian. The track starts to drain, and the moment is strategic. At the time of the refueling, it's essential to choose the most adequate tyres. Rain tyres are no longer efficient. And the choice between slicks and recut slicks, it's the latter which are chosen at Pescarolo, and it's a prudent option. Track conditions change from lap to lap. The slightest variation of trajectory is dangerous, sometimes without gravity, and other times, on the other hand, with more expensive consequences. Peter Kutermann once again loses control of his Ferrari and smashes into the Zytek of Kurosawa. The accident is of an extreme violence, and a few moments later the worst is avoided when Thomas Enger at the same place crashes his Ferrari along with the Porsche of Barazzi. When the safety car releases the pack, Bouillon is still leading, followed 25 seconds behind by John Nielsen in the official Zytek. Close to a lap further back, it's Stefan Ortelli on board the French Audi. In LMP2, it's the Belmondo camp that the pit stops are managed best, with Courage number 37 with Didier André at the wheel, leading the category and 5th in general standings. On the other hand, for the adversaries from MG Lola, things are turning sour. The car is immobilized on the side of the track at Blanchimont, as from this moment the race for number 25 will be summarized as a long-distance cross-bearing run, which will take them to the finish, but very far from what was hoped for.
We're in the pits with Phil Barker, the team manager of the RML team. Phil, what happened out there?
Yeah, we're not too sure at the moment. He's cut out on the track and that. We've lost communications with him, so we're a bit in the dark to what to do at the moment.
Okay, now the car was going exceptionally well. This must be extremely disappointing.
Yeah, extremely disappointed, but yeah, there's still a long way to go. We're quite hopeful that we'll get him back and we should be able to rectify it and carry on.
Okay, Phil, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Decidedly, problems follow on one after the other in this chopping and changing race. This time, it's the Porsche of Daniels which is immobilized right in the middle of the circuit, following a very violent exit from the track. Well, yet again, the safety car is back on the track for 25 minutes. The Lister comes back into the pits. This time it's not for refueling, but quite simply to retire from the race.
We had a bit of a collision. Somebody hit us up the back, and since then we had some gearbox issues, and I think that manifests itself into a failure of the gearbox. Nothing I can do.
Lawrence, thanks very much.
It's around mid-race that Zytek number 15 makes its appearance at the top of the general standings. At the wheel since the start, the highly experienced John Nielsen doesn't make the slightest driving error. He passes over a car in a perfect condition to his Japanese teammate Shimoda, who preserves the car without too much difficulty among the forward stations. And while the number 15 turns like a metronome, the Pescarolo Judd, now driven by Eric Comas, produces very irregular times. From one lap to another, the Frenchman loses or gains 10 seconds. The explanation is in the tires. Comas is wearing slicks. And as soon as he leaves the trajectory to overtake a car, his tyres cool and don't stick anymore, which makes him waste a lot of valuable time. A little further back, Ortelli continues attacking an Audi that's obviously badly affected by the reduced air intake imposed by the new regulations. Stefan comes back up on the Pescarolo of Comas, has to take risks to remain within contact, and once again is hit by a GT. This time it's a Maranello Ferrari driven by the Russian Fomenko. Under the eyes of the Bibendum, the Audi loses 20 good seconds before extracting itself from this situation and the contact with Eric Comas. Fourth overall, the DBA John of Manassian and Campbell Walter produces very interesting times and on several occasions even beats the lap record. But the first pace car intervened at the bad time for the team, setting the car one lap behind, which is too significant to be part of the fight for the lead. Decidedly, even if it's no longer the car to be beaten, the Audi remains omnipresent in endurance. A little later, during the fifth salvo of refuelings, Ortelli finds himself in the lead with Shimoda hot on his heels. The two boys will come to blows several laps before Stefan takes his turn to head into the pits. After 4 hours spent behind the wheel, Stefan Ortelli passes the relay to Jean-Marc Gounon.
In the pits with Stefan Ortelli. Stefan, a grueling start to the day. How do you feel after this? You must be completely exhausted.
It's not really physically because it's slippery, so you don't really get used physically, but mentally it's a very difficult condition. We are in Belgium, we are in Spa, and it's not surprising me, but it's so bloody difficult to overtake. The visibility is very bad as well, so we had many problems. And I had to take a lot of risks to overtake the slower cars, and sometimes I did have problems. I think today it's a race I love, but it's also the best practice for Le Mans 24 hours.
Let's take stock of the situation in LMP2 now, with the leading car since the second hour of racing immobilized in its box. The car of Paul Belmondo, like several Couragers during this weekend, is experiencing serious starter problems, but loses the first place of LMP2. Consequently, it's the Lola AER number 39 which points the end of its carbon muzzle into the first place of the category. Berige, Evans and Owen are gentlemen drivers of great talent, and for the moment they're putting in a superb performance. The trio of British drivers has a comfortable lead on its most direct competitors, the Mecachrome Courage of Del Bello Racing, which also benefits from the problems experienced by Paul Belmondo to gain a place in the standings. GT1, Scuderia Italia BMS is having mixed fortunes, with first of all Bartian, who goes straight off at La Source before getting back out onto the track again. On the other hand, the other car of the team's leading the category and is 10th overall. The Italian team is champion in title in FIA GT, and after having won everything, the title and the 24 Hours of Spa in this category, they attack the LMES this year with, of course, the ambition to take the crown in GT1. And for the moment, they're off to a promising start. All the more so as the Ferrari of Bushu and the Russians Fomenko and Vasiliev is a long way behind and won't be able to get back up to regularity. After a good beginning to the race, the Celine of Bobby, Roberti and Lemire is unfortunately forced to throw in the towel and let the Ferraris fight it out amongst themselves. While the Ferraris are in the top places in GT1, in GT2 it's the reverse situation. The Modenas of the leaders multiply their errors and even flirt with the wall of tyres. In short, the victory which was looming on the horizon flies away. It's a TVR. TVR are a small British artisan company who build fantastic sports cars. They've decided to come and measure up to the big boys, the Ferraris and the Porsches. And here David really meets Goliath. The TVR, everything runs perfectly. The two cars are running like clocks and nothing seems able to stop them.
I take it you're asking me how things were. Yeah, I was a little bit unfortunate to get forced off by a car that had spun after getting the lead. So that cost us around 35 seconds, and I had to try and make that back up again. So yeah, I mean the car's very good. I think it was the right decision to just put fuel in at the last stop. But the tyres are absolutely knackered now, so they won't be doing much more, I don't think.
Refueling for the leader, Shimoda, who brings back to the pits a Zytek in perfect state. He yields his place to Casper Elgar. Certain scandalmongers insinuate that Casper is slower than his teammate. Others undoubtedly hope to be able to benefit from this to make up their lost time. But very quickly, the Dane shows his colours, running lap times similar to those of his teammates. The Zytek's in orbit with a view to the finish, and one gets the impression that there's not much that could stop it. But endurance remains endurance, and before celebrating a victory, it's essential to cross the finish line, which will not be the case for the Dallara Nissan of Roll Centre, which leaves the track in Blanchiment and causes a new interruption to the race by the safety car. The safety car causes a tightening of the leading positions. But Jean-Marc Gounon, who's on board the Oreca Audi, he's now in the second place overall, less than 10 seconds off the leader. An ideal position that the crafty Hugues de Schonack has the intention of exploiting.
Outside your pit area here, and I can hear everybody's dancing the Macarena. They're so happy about what's happening here. What's going to be the tactic for the last sprint?
I think it will be very tough with the Zytek. We have to do just one pit stop, which I think the race is going to be played during the pit stop. If we can overtake the Zytek car in the pit stop, it will be perfect. This is our target.
I know that some people were a little bit nervous about how the Audi would perform today. You know, not doing quite so well in practice in this respect, but it's proving yet again that Audi has the reliability that counts.
Yes, I think there is the reliability, but I think also today there is the strategy and the pit stop. At the last minute, we have decided that Ortelli is doing 4 hours of driving, so we change our strategy. We don't change the drivers, so it helps a lot, I think, and it's for that now we are in a very good position in the race.
Hugh, thanks very much.
The owner of Oreca hardly finishes his sentence when he's in for a cold shower. It lasts 40 minutes, and when the green flag's presented to the drivers, there's 3/4 of an hour's racing left to run. Well, while Gounon tripped on the carpet, it's at BMS. It's the mechanic charged with tightening the front wheel nuts who confuses speed and precipitation. The leading car of the GT1 category is running slow on the track. The wheel nut is badly tightened, and the driver tries to limp the car back to the pits. With 3 laps lead on the car of Bouchou, he can take his time. Without panicking, he manages to regain his box, to tighten the wheel and set out again. leading the GT1 class. For his part, Christophe Bouchou, back at the wheel of the Maranello of the Converse team, is in full attack, but his efforts will be in vain. Isolated in second position, Pescarolo Judd doesn't have a real rival anymore. Manu Collard goes for a final refueling without any problems. He's too far from the leading Zytek to hope to come up and hassle him. And for the Pescarolo, new rain tyres are mounted as a safety precaution. Behind the DBA of Campbell Walter, even if it signs impressive times, can't hope for the second place anymore. This DBA has been surprising right from the start of the weekend. And it's worth betting on the fact that it'll be one to watch for the future, but not the immediate future, because for the finish, Campbell Walter's running slow, and he pulls to the side of the track to retire from the race.
Bickerton, we've seen the car has had a major problem out on the track. What was the problem?
We appear to lost all the drive to the gearbox. Either something's broken in the gearbox, or we've broken the drive shaft just before Pouhon. We'd just taken third place from the Audi. We'd got quite an interesting race ourselves. Broken alternator early on. Had to sort that out. Lost a couple of laps. Yeah, disappointment. So it is.
The retirement of the DBA propels the Delara Judd, number 8, to the podium. The car's driven by Short, Barth and X, Vanina X, the daughter of the great Jackie, who had 5 victories here at the 1,000 kilometers of Spa. For her very first race in LMP1, Vanina's fast and regular throughout the weekend. Well, she, just like the Belgian public here at Spa, will undoubtedly regret that 20 minutes from the finish, at the time of the last refueling, she has to yield her place to a teammate.
Vanina X just out of the car, not too far from the end of this event. How did it feel out there today?
It was very intense. Didn't know how the weather was going to be like. Rain, dry, a lot of mist, many crashes. So crashes reminded me to take care of the car for my team. And so far, I think we're in a good position.
Okay. You look very tired. Is this why you've come out of the car at this point?
No, I just finished my stint. No, I'm not tired. I'm just still concentrated because the end is not far. And I heard we were in third position. I hope we'll keep it.
Just behind the roll center Delara is the new Dome, powered by a Mugen engine. The car was very discreet during the entire race, and its Japanese crew multiplied the excursions off the track. But they're 4th placed at the finish without great panache. At the end of the 6 hours of racing, the TVR Tuscan signs a resounding double-header in GT2 in front of the Porsche of Sekel Motorsport.
I think the changeable conditions was good for our car. We were fast in the warm-up in the wet this morning, and we were quite good in the dry as well. We've been top 4 all weekend, so very pleased for the team owner Lawrence Tomlinson and for TVR and all the mechanics and everything. The team has worked so hard, and this is a fantastic result for us.
Did you expect this result with the Ferraris and the Porsches?
Well, we obviously hope to be up at the front with them, but I don't think a lot of people would have believed that a TVR could win a race like this, and we've proved that we are very competitive, and hopefully that will continue throughout the year.
In a last-ditch struggle, Christophe Bouchou will try to come back up on the Ferrari of the Scuderia Italia, but in vain as the Reds win their very first race in LMES. Better still, BMS drivers flood the podium in GT1. The victory goes to Cressoni, Ramos and Golan, with 3rd place for Pescatori, Bartian and Sila. This race was fantastic, because last year we won the 24-hour race here at Spa. It was a very beautiful victory. New adventure with different tyres, this time with Pirelli. It's a beautiful race, a difficult 1,000 kilometers and a great victory. We're very happy. In LMP2, the Pilbeam of Pierre Bruno inherits an unhoped-for place on the podium, with light years from the 2nd place taken by Tinso, Pilon and Amorin in their Mechachrome courage. Victory in LMP2 goes to the Lola of the team, Chamberlain. A victory due to regularity. The car and its drivers didn't drop their guard during the entire race.
It was very wet, very cool, very foggy, but fantastic to be at Spa. Great championship. We're looking forward to the rest of the year. We're looking forward to Le Mans, and the LMES is just the best way to go racing, really.
Lastly, the victory on scratch goes to the Zytek number 15, a perfect race on the part of Elgaard, Shimoda and Nielsen. Up against the Audi and very competitive Courageous, no one really expected the Zytek to be first past the checkered flag for this first race of the season.
It's a long time ago since we've won a race, and now coming back to the LMES, not going to Le Mans because apparently they don't want us. I don't know why, but winning here is what we came for, and we did it, and we're back.
Okay, the conditions today were rather difficult, to say the least. You shaped up very well, nevertheless.
It was very difficult, but for everybody, so it's the same rules for everybody. But yes, it was a gamble with tires all the time, but no, we did it at the end, and we made the right choice at the right time, and it gave us the race, simply.
Zytek wins the race at Spa with a full laps lead on the Judd-powered Pescarolo. As at free practice, the Pescarolo had on paper been the team to beat, but unfortunately, it didn't quite manage it.
I think we are very pleased. It's the first race of the season, and we show our car is very competitive this year. We just need to work a little bit more on this condition, because we were not really happy. It was really good when it was raining a lot, but on this condition, more dry was a bit more difficult, but it's okay.
The next race for the majority of the actors at the LMES is, of course, the 24 Hours of Le Mans in June. With regard to LMES, the next race will be on July 9th and 10th in Italy for the 1,000 kilometers of Monza.